So what do we want to do? We want to create an RFQ first and then document the responses and compare the prices. So three steps that we want to do here. So the first step is issuing the RFQ to the vendors. The second step is documenting the responses in the quotation. And the third step is price comparison. And of course, the final step being awarding that order to one of the vendors. So let's do step number one now. How do you do that? Right under logistics, material management, purchasing, and RFQ. Go to the first step, request for quotation. Simple, right? Click on create. Now by default, AN is selected, AN for RFQ. Just select that. And because we are sending this out to so many different vendors, we want to put a deadline. Just like how you apply for a university and they have deadlines, right? So similarly, we're going to put a deadline. A deadline to submit the quotations is, say, 10/31. I'm just going to put a date. And over here, we use something called as a collective number. Now, we can make this not mandatory, but most of the time, this is a really useful field. So what's a collective number? So each of these is a separate document. For example, this document is 500000101. This is 500000102, 500000103. And then you could be issuing these RFQs with 10 vendors. Each of these vendors would have a separate document, 101, 102, 103. And when you want to do actions further, like document the quotation, do a price comparison, you're basically going to work on all these documents. And can you remember these documents? So many of them? That's crazy. You can't. So a collective number is basically a code that is linked or ties all these documents together. You have 10 documents that you have issued to vendors and you want to collectively work on them. You just tag them as, let's say, with a number, or you could tag it with a text. It really depends on what's really comfortable for the purchasing guy. Say, for example, we want to tag it as 2001. So all these numbers, purchase requisitions, will be tagged as 2001. And this 2001 is really a tag that binds all the RFQs together in one place. And that is called as a collective number. So remember, a collective number is just a way to tag different RFQs together so that they can be managed easily. So what's our tag? Our tag is 2001. It's just a tag, remember, nothing more than that. You could do something like this also, A, B, C, D, doesn't matter. Anything is fine. Okay, so 2001, enter. And here, what do we need? We need coffee beans as usual, right? And say we are asking for a quantity of 10,000 or 1,000, whatever, right? And when do we need them by? That's also an important criteria, right? Depending on the date, the prices might change. So we need them on, say, November, right? End of November. Okay, now we have created the RFQ, basically the template, which is saying I need coffee beans of 1,000 pounds by such and such a date, and please respond within 31st of October. But who should it go to? It should go to vendors, right? 4001, 4002, 4003. And we supply them here. Click on vendor address and we say 4001, enter, enter, save it. And the screen is going to remain right there. It's not going to go back. like typical screens. Now you can put more vendors in there. 4002. Enter. Save it. And then you can also do 4003, 4004, as many vendors as you want. Now we have decided that we're going to send it to 3 vendors, right? So each of these 3 vendors get a separate document. The content is going to be the same, but we are going to track them as separate RFQs. See, one is 18, another is 17, another is 16. But luckily for us, we don't have to remember all those documents. I'll tell you how. Because we use collective numbers. So we go back and the creation step is done, right? So let's say we wait for a few days and then we get responses. Responses could be via phone calls, via fax, via emails, or whatever medium that the vendor is comfortable with. So this step is complete. Step number 1 is done. Now step number 2 is to document the quotations that we receive. And how do we do that? In the RFQ quotation, click on, earlier we clicked on request for quotation. So we created an RFQ. Now we're going to document the responses that we get. So click on quotation and click on maintain. Each of these vendors has been given a certain document number, and we only need to document them in the corresponding document number, right? So the way to do that is a little tricky. You'd have to search using the collective number. Now, there are many options here. Now, if you click on this, there are a variety of ways in which you can search for the RFQs. But go here and then select search by collective number. Right? That way it's much easier. So go select a collective number of 2001. That's the number, that's the tag that we have given to the vendors to submit the RFQs. And then click OK. And these are our RFQs: 16, 17, 18. 16 is with one vendor, 17 is with the second vendor, 18 is with the third vendor. Say 16 is with vendor 4001, and he has offered to deliver us 1,000 pounds of coffee at, say, 9.75 per pound. Okay, save it. Now, say 17 is vendor 4002, and he has offered us at 9.65 per pound, right? Save. And then, of course, vendor 4003 has promised us at 8.95 per pound, and save. Now we have done step number 2. We have put the prices in there and saved it. And in order to pull down those RFQs, we have used the collective number 2001. Now the third step is price comparison. We need to compare the prices between all the quotes and pick the winner. So go click on price comparison, and then again use collective number 2001. Right? There are different ways in which you can compare. You can compare the minimum value, you can compare by the mean value, you can compare based on the discounts and list prices, but we don't understand all those things yet. Let's just do a basic comparison. See, SAP is comparing each of the vendors based on the RFQ numbers, and it's giving us the price that they're offering us. It's just a comparison. We can go to each of the individual documents and then compare it yourself. This is like a one big screen where it shows the comparison between all the vendors, and it's ranking them. The first guy is 895, and the second guy is 965, and the third guy is offering at 9.75. So it's ranking them so that you can make a better decision. This looks pretty straightforward because there's just one product. Now, If you do multiple products in the same RFQ, I need 100 pounds of coffee, 100 pounds of sugar, 100 pounds of this, 100 pounds of that. In that case, the comparison is not that straightforward, because for coffee, one vendor might be better. For sugar, another vendor might be better, right? So in cases like that, the SAP's comparison in one big screen is going to really help you make a decision. And of course, still there is a lot of manual intervention required, because there's a lot of judgment that's required. But nevertheless, the price comparison tool helps us make a decision in terms of which vendor is best. And of course, finally, you're going to award this contract or order to one vendor, the vendor that you think is the best. And for the rest of the vendors, you send rejection letters. Now, in the price comparison, what we found is this guy is ranked 1, this guy is ranked 2, this guy is ranked 3. So 4003 is the preferred vendor, because he is offering coffee at 8.95, which is the cheapest that we've got so far. So we can create a contract with reference to that RFQ, and we need to tell these guys, the other vendors, that we have gone with another vendor, so we don't need you anymore for this transaction. So we're going to send them rejection letters. So this vendor is accepted for this transaction, and the two other vendors are rejected for this transaction. Now, this is just purely for the transaction. We're not rejecting the vendors forever. For this particular RFQ, we're going to reject these vendors and accept one of the vendors.